place called Melrose Park, Chicago. Well, Melrose Park, Illinois, in Chicago area. I get up there to go. I go to the address that was given to me on the Raycon. The address with the business name, everything. And they have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, we're not shipping out anything. I don't know what, I don't know why they're giving you this address to pick up the load. There's nothing here to ship out. And the commodity on the Raycon was kind of vague, so I wasn't really 100% sure what it was I was picking up. The delivery point on the Raycon didn't really say a name of a place. It just had a couple letters that didn't really make any sense to me, and numbers. Not the address. It was in the space for the name of the company, and it just didn't make any sense to me. But I would just follow the address where it needed to go, and that's how I would get there. So anyway, I got to the pickup a half an hour before my appointment time, and I go. They said it's not there, so I go call Uber. And here's the thing. Here's one of my biggest complaints with Uber. When you try to call in with an issue, and some people who get offended easily, they're not going to like this. They're not going to like what I say. But it's just a matter of fact. When you call into Uber, they speak with a very heavy Middle Eastern accent. Because that's, they're not, when you call into Uber help and support, they're not from here. They're from, they're from the, wherever, out across the ocean, And sometimes you get somebody on the line that speaks, very fluent English, and it's pretty easy to understand what they're saying. Other times you get somebody that seems like they haven't gone through a day of the English language, to learn it. So it's very difficult to communicate. There's a very strong language barrier a lot of the times. And that's frustrating when you have a problem that's costing you money. So I was trying to convey to this person what was going on, and she just wasn't understanding it at all. And it just wasn't, I couldn't get it through her head. So I ended up hanging up. I couldn't get anywhere. But I was, I told her, I'm like, look, the load, they say they don't have the load. They're saying that it might even be the wrong address. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going. All this stuff. So, and she wasn't really grasping it. So I got kind of frustrated and I hung up. I ended up calling PDP and telling them what was going on. And I was afraid I was going to have to cancel the load, because by this point it was about 45 minutes after my appointment time, and I had no idea where I was going. So they called Uber, tried to get something out of them. They didn't really get any more out of them than I did. So then I started doing some investigating, and I Googled on the delivery end of it to see if it would pop up, the exact name of the place that I was delivering to. And instead of these weird little numbers and letters that just seemed like a code and didn't really make any sense. So I looked it up, and it was going to a place called Millworks Incorporated, and they are a distributor of chip pallets. So then I go ahead and I look in my immediate area where I was parked at, and around the corner was a place called Millworks Incorporated. That couldn't be a coincidence, right? But it was not the address or the name of the company they gave me to go pick up at. And so I can't just go there if I don't know, like, I can't just go there and ask somebody for a load. Like I said, the paperwork, I mean, everything I had was for the place I was at, not for Millworks. But I knew that had to be the case. I knew that had to be where I was going. But now, by this point, it's, over an hour after my appointment time. So I decided to go ahead and call Millworks just to see if anything made sense to them. And of course, I call them and nobody answers. And see, now this is an area, these are kind of smaller businesses. They're not like big giant warehouses that are open 24 hours. It's just a smaller business that, they close at the end of the day. They all go home, 6 o'clock, whatever. They're done. They go home. So I bet I was probably the last appointment. And by 7:15 or 7:30, when I tried to call, nobody was there because they probably just, looked at me as a no-show and they decided to all go home. And so I called Uber back and I told them what was going on. I said, hey, I think what happened is you gave me the wrong address, the wrong name of the. Like sometimes when they give you a rate con, either the address or the name of the business will be wrong, but not both. They're not both wrong, usually. But because they were both wrong, I had no way of knowing if Uber was even calling the right customer to figure out what the problem was. Because if it showed that as the pickup for the address and the name of the company, for all I knew, that's who they were calling to figure out why my load wasn't available. And if they were doing that, then they weren't going to get any information out of them because they literally didn't have the load. So I called Uber back and I said, hey, this is what's going on. And I got somebody that had even worse English. And so by now I'm already super frustrated, right? I'm ready just to cancel the load. It ain't worth it anymore. But at the same time, if I cancel the load, all of my time there doing all this investigatory work would have been for nothing because I put my time into it to figure out what the problem was. So I wanted to at least get a toning. So when I was talking to this lady again, she was even harder for me to understand. And I tried telling her what was going on, and she wasn't having it. She didn't really, I don't know if she didn't care or if she didn't understand what I was saying. And so finally I told her, I'm like, look, you guys just need to cancel the load and give me a tow-new because I'm here, I've been here since before my appointment. It shows that on the app, and you guys gave me the wrong address and the wrong everything, the wrong name of the company, everything. So, and I told her, I said, look, I did your work for you and I figured out where this load is actually picking up at, but nobody's there. Nobody's answering. They've probably gone home for the day. So I told her, I said, I've got other loads to pick up. I can't wait around for somebody to reschedule it. So just give me a tow-new and I'll be on my way. And she goes, well, sir, you'll have to cancel that load. And I said, no. I said, you need to cancel it so it doesn't show negative on my end. I said, this wasn't my fault. I'm not canceling it just to cancel it. I'm like, it has to be canceled because you guys gave me the wrong information and now it's too late to go pick it up. And she was like, well, what you should do is she's like, well, you can either cancel it or you can continue on with the load. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to continue on with the load? And she goes, well, we can call and reschedule. I said, no, that's not, you're not understanding. I'm like, I'm not, it doesn't matter if you want to reschedule or not. I have held up my end of the bargain. I am here. You gave me the wrong information. It is not my responsibility now to wait around for you to reschedule it. I have other loads I have other obligations that I have to tend to. And she's like, well, if you cancel it, then you're not going to get a tow-new. And I'm like, that's bull crap. I'm like, if I cancel it, it's because of you. It's because of what Uber did. And so, to cancel the load. This is ridiculous. And so they went ahead and canceled it. Well, then I called PDP and I told them what's going on, because this looks bad on PDP since I use their numbers. If too many drivers cancel loads that what Uber would consider the last minute like that was, it's going to have a negative impact on the ability for PDP to continue working with Uber. So I called PDP right away and told them what was going on again, and they emailed Uber and said, hey, this, what's going on here? Are we going to be like, they sent the notification to our emails, Uber did, to tell us that the cancellation was effective and I was taken off the load. And so then, PDP emailed them to say, hey, are we going to get a tow new for this? And the next day they emailed back and they said, yeah, we'll go ahead and give you a tow new. And then they did. Later that day they sent me a tow new. I got a $150 tow new. Well, yesterday, it's like they rescheduled the load, and then somebody, God, my throat gets dry when I talk too much. A representative from Uber called me and was like, hey, we see that you're taking off of this load, and we see that we gave you a tow new for it, but we just got notification that this load was just delivered today, right now. And she's even said by me, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I went home for the afternoon. I'm waiting to pick up another load. And, she's like, even she was like, well, this is really strange, So, I'm like, okay, well, whatever, we'll see what happens. Well, then I get an email last night telling me that the $150 tow new has been rescinded. I'm like, what? So, I don't know what's going on. Something's a little fishy. But it's pretty frustrating, to say the least. But yeah, I even told, when I was on the phone with the second person at Uber on the day of, and I couldn't understand what she was saying, I asked her, I said, look, I don't want to sound rude, but can you put me on the phone with somebody that has more fluent English? I'm running a business here. I cannot have this language barrier. I need to understand what you are trying to say. I need to understand you without having to rack my brain on every word you say to try to make sense of it. And like I said, it sucks at this day and age. You've got to walk around on eggshells during a time like that. But when you're running a business, you have to. There can't be any barriers like that. They're standing in, that language barrier, maybe no fault of their own, but that language barrier is standing in your way as a business owner of making money, which is the whole point of being in business. But she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't give me anybody else. So it was very frustrating, and maybe there wasn't anybody else that spoke, and maybe she was the best, most fluent English speaker of the entire company. I don't know. And I even told her to, I'm like, well, let me speak to, I went all Karen about it, and I hate doing it, but I went all Karen on her. I said, let me speak to your manager. As soon as I said that, I'm like, oh. I'm like, oh, that sounds so much like a Karen. But at that point, what other avenue did I have, And in my opinion, I felt like it was a justifiable complaint, justifiable reason to speak to somebody above her. But of course, nothing prevailed from that request. Anyway, that's that that story. Now, onto this whole FMCSA speed limiter garbage. I drink my coffee here. I would highly encourage anybody to go to the FMCSA website and leave a comment about your opinion on what this is going to do to trucking. Now, you know, some people are talking about it's going to destroy the industry and all of that. I don't see, personally, I don't see that happening. I don't see the speed limiters destroying the industry, so to speak. It might make it more inconvenient and whatnot, but it's not going to destroy the industry. Every new mandate that they put in place for us truck drivers out here, people say it's going to destroy the industry. I just don't see it in this one. But that's a big but. I just wanted to say that up front. It is, however, going to make the roads a lot less safe, and which is counterproductive to what their intentions are. Their intentions are to make the roads more safe. But here's the thing. It's going to create a lot more road rage. So not only is it going to create, not only are you going to be a rolling roadblock again, which, you know, when was it? Back in 2011 when states started to, well, states that had a discrepancy between four-wheeler speed limits and 18-wheeler speed limits, most of the states, except for California, decided, hey, we should probably match the speeds, or at least get them a lot closer. I know some states there still might be a small discrepancy, but they've narrowed that gap, right, between four-wheelers and 18-wheelers. Ohio completely abolished the gap. They made it so that trucks and cars are rolling at the same speed no matter what, or at least have the ability to, you know. So they did that for a reason. They didn't do that because they wanted to spend money on new signs and tear down all the old signs that said truck speed limit 55 miles an hour. You know, they put the money into the infrastructure as far as the new signs and things go because they did the studies and found that it was safer to do so. But now they are now the FMCSA, which is a federal, you know, institution, rather than individual states that set the speed limits. The FMCSA wants to set a federal speed limit for trucks. The problem with that is no truck is built the same, and no truck is hauling the same load. So here's the thing: when you're a rolling roadblock, you run a higher risk of somebody that's not paying attention rolling up on you 30 miles an hour. Oh man, excuse me. Rolling up behind you at 30 miles an hour faster than you are and hitting you, not paying attention. But, you know, obviously I'm talking about a four-wheeler because if we're mandated, a truck isn't going to be going 30 mile an hour faster than another truck. So, you know, that's just, but if a car could, you know, rear end you going 30 mile an hour faster and they die, you know, or they get stuck behind you because say you've had an opportunity to go around the truck that's in front of you because, I don't know, maybe they weren't paying attention and they slowed down a hair, and so now you say, oh, here's my shot to go around them, and then you know, start to pass them, and then they see you passing them in the mirror, and then they say that they say to themselves, oh, I slowed down, let me speed back up. And then they speed back up because they don't give a crap about you. So then they speed back up, and then you can't pass them. So now it's going to be a battle of who is going to slow down to let the other one by. And as both of you guys are having this dick measuring contest, there's going to be a line of cars of four-wheelers behind you that are beginning to get irate and hitting their steering wheels and yelling out through the windshield at you. But they're going to be yelling at the person that's in the hammer lane, not the one that's in the right lane. So even though the one in the hammer lane might look at it as the fault of the guy in the slow lane because he slowed down and sped up, the four-wheelers aren't going to see it that way. And what it's going to do is create a ton of road rage incidents from four-wheelers upon 18-wheelers. That's just going to be how it's just going to happen. It's inevitable. So you're going to have a lot more road rage incidents. How does that make things safer? It doesn't. We need to have the ability, and I'm not saying you should always speed or anything like that, but we do need to have that flexibility that if we have to get around a truck, that we have the ability to. You know, and for example, when I'm in an area and there's like a cluster of vehicles, cars, you know, or four-wheelers, trucks, whatever, but like it's just an isolated cluster, I can see beyond it and see that it's open road in front of them. I want to get to that open road. I don't want to be in the cluster. One of those drivers in that cluster of vehicles makes one mistake, and it could cause everybody in that cluster to get into an accident. So it's not safe to be in that cluster. So that's when I speed up and I try to get around some people and get out where it's a little bit more open. You won't be able to do that. You will be forced to stay in these clusters of trucks that can't go any faster than one another, and it's going to just create, it's just going to snowball, you know. But unfortunately, as every mandate that has been written for trucks, not a single one of these lawmakers have ever seen the inside of a truck, generally speaking. I mean, maybe somebody has actually sat in one, but they're not they've never been truck drivers. Doesn't matter what Biden says, they've never been truck drivers. So they don't get it, they don't understand it. And again, that's no fault of their own. It is what it is, you know. But at the same time, they aren't, you know, because they don't know what they're doing, they need to listen to those of us that do know what we're doing. But they don't, and they won't. And unfortunately, I don't see this bill not passing. That's just my opinion, but try to name one bill, and I'll just say this, try to name one bill that they have presented to the motor carriers, you know, that they said they might pass, but they might not. Tell me one bill they did not pass. They passed the e-logs. It took them a while. They were talking about it for several years, and you know, there were a couple years where it got overturned, but then they just came back, and they came back until finally they passed it. You know, I mean, I heard they were talking about mandating it back in 2008. You know, when I started driving, that was a concern. They were talking about it then. You know, so they tried and failed a couple times, but they kept coming back. They were relentless, and they're going to be the same way with the speed limiters. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. But go to the FMCSA website, leave a comment. I left a long comment on there yesterday because there's just so many variables. You know, I mean, even so much as, and I've heard other YouTubers talk about this, but this is an argument that I've put out there for years. So it may not sound original, but to me it is, because I've talked about it for a long time. But truck A is in the slow lane, like I am, and say truck A has 43,000 pounds of water, bottled water in the truck. Truck B, who's behind truck A, he's got automotive parts that weigh 8,000 pounds. Alright? Say they're on mostly flat land like I'm on now, but with the occasional incline. It doesn't take a very big incline to start slowing down a truck with 43,000 pounds of water in it. So what's going to happen is truck B is going to come out to pass truck A, because that same incline may have zero effect on truck B, because he's only got 8,000 pounds in the box. So he's, going to go out to pass, but that incline might be a short incline. And then by the time they get to the top, truck B has not fully passed truck A. And then again, we get down to that dick measuring contest. Truck A, as we've seen out here in the past, most likely is not going to slow down to let truck B finish the pass. Even though that would be the proper etiquette in that situation, because truck A now knows that truck B has a far lighter load and can traverse the hills a lot easier. So trucker etiquette should dictate that truck A lets truck B pass without incident. But that's not how people are programmed, unfortunately. Truck A doesn't want to lose the ground, so he's not going to want to slow down. So then anyway, you run into that issue. Then again, you got cars getting behind you. Alright, so now, another scenario. Well, not really another scenario, but another reason to not pass the law. If you talk to a driver that has a limited truck, because he's with a bigger company, and their truck is limited to, 62 miles an hour, 65, whatever it might be, you talk to any one of these drivers and they will tell you that, yeah, they're not speeding on the interstates because they can't even do the speed limit, but when they're in construction zones, or they are on a back road where the speed limit is 55 or even 45, they've got that pedal to the freaking floor, and they're just hauling balls as fast as they can keep that truck going to gain a little bit of ground for the time they're going to lose on the interstate. And again, is that right? Absolutely not. It's not right. But it's human nature. And that's what they're going to do. You can't prevent it. But that's what they're going to do. And that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to see more accidents in construction zones. You're going to see more accidents on back roads. Because trucks are going to be hauling ass to make up for the time that they lose while they're on the interstate. And heck, in places like Wyoming, if you're on a back road, like a 2-lane road, the speed limit is still over 65 miles an hour. I think it's like, what, 70 or 75 on some of the back roads in Wyoming? But it's just, it's crazy. It's an absurd thing that I can understand why somebody that doesn't understand trucking. Actually, no, I won't even say that, because they drive a 4-wheeler, so they share their roads with trucks. So they see what happens when there's slow-moving trucks. So there is no excuse. I'm not even going to give them that. I'm not even going to give them that out. There is no excuse. They see what happens when two trucks that are both limited at relatively the same speed cause, as far as a backup goes, when one tries to pass the other. They know that frustration. But yet they don't care. They'll probably care a lot more when every single truck is doing that. and then they'll just have to rescind the law. But that's a whole nother process. So yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. But like I said, I don't see it quote unquote destroying the industry. But it is going to make things. It'll complicate some things. You know, it will. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump off here and finish my delivery. But you guys all have to go out there and stay safe. And we'll talk at you guys in another video. See ya. All right, then I'll conclude the road footage. See y'all later.